Now, we go further. This is the interesting, we're getting to the really interesting point now, which pretty much is a section which shows what Mark's saying. If it hasn't shown already, one must be deaf to the gospel. One must have spent too many hours listening to the imams in the mosque if one doesn't get it yet, what St. Mark is saying. Or in the rabbinic schools, if one doesn't get it. But in chapter 12 of St. Mark's Gospel, Jesus speaks a parable. It's a really important parable which shows what St. Mark is trying to get us, tell us, and what Jesus is trying to tell us, because Mark is only reporting what Jesus says. Chapter 12 verse 1, and he began to speak to them in parables. A man planted a vineyard and set a hedge around it, and dug a pit for the winepress, and built a tower and let it out to tenants, and went into another country. When the time came, he sent a servant to the tenants to get from them some of the fruit of the vineyard. And they took him and beat him and sent him away empty-handed. Again, he sent to them another servant, and they wounded him in the head and treated him shamefully. And he sent another, and him they killed. And so with many others, some they beat, and some they killed. He had still one other, a beloved son. Finally, he sent him to them, saying, "They will respect my son." But those tenants said to one another, "This is the heir. Come, let us kill him, and the inheritance will be ours." And they took him and killed him and cast him out of the vineyard. What will the owner of the vineyard do? He will come and destroy the tenants and give the vineyard to others. Have you not read the scripture? The very stone which the builders rejected has become the head of the corner. This was the Lord's doing, and it is marvellous in our eyes. So what is going on now is Jesus is telling us that the prophets have been sent to ancient Israel again and again, and they've been abused, beaten sometimes, and killed by the ancient Israelites. But it is God who is the owner of the vineyard. The vineyard is Israel, and God is sending these to these faithless tenants. They're only tenants. They don't own the vineyard, they're just renting it. They think they own it, so they want to keep it. So God says, I'm going to send somebody who's different now. And this is the key thing Mark is getting across, and the key thing Jesus is getting across. And this couldn't be plainer now. Jesus is saying, the person I'm going to send now is not merely a servant. He's my son. My son. And we know this is talking about Jesus because it says they then took him and said, we'll take over the vineyard for ourselves. We'll kill him. And they do kill him. Jesus is prophesying his own death and saying he's the son that is spoken about. He's basically a being different from the servants. So we find that when we hear about the parables, we think, oh, the parables, they're nice stories for simple people to understand moral truths. But here, we've got Jesus using a parabolic form to tell us he's ontologically different from the prophets. And he is that beloved son. All right. So that's chapter 12. First, the initial verses.